welcome to another episode of Healthy Talks. I'm your host, Julie, and today we are with the amazing Dr. Farah, who, amongst other things, is a nurse career coach. Hi, Dr. Farah, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm very excited to hear more about your insights and expertise, and I'm sure our audience will also to be just as eager to learn more about you and what you do.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
So tell me, you began your career as an emergency nurse straight out of nursing school, a challenging and very fast-paced environment. What was that experience like, and how did it shape your perspective as a nurse and educator?
Yeah, thank you so much. So, I actually, um, in nursing school, I always was attracted to the emergency department after watching a show called Trauma Life in the ER. And it's funny because I later ended up working in that same emergency where that show was filmed.
Mm?
But early on in my career, in my last year of nursing school, most clinical instructors out of nursing school still to this day will tell nurses that they can't go into any specialty and that they should start in med surge. So that's what I was told. My clinical instructor literally laughed in my face and said that I would never be an emergency nurse and that I was too unorganized and that I should start in med surge. So, of course, I didn't listen to her. I'm like, watch me, lady. I will be one of the most
Yes.
badass ER nurses around. And that's what I did. My last rotation, I got into the ER in nursing school. Absolutely loved it. And they encouraged me to apply, the nurses there. So I did. I applied. And then I got hired and started working 2 days after graduation. And this was before even taking my Canadian boards. I did not even pass my boards yet. They still hired me, and I started working there 2 days after graduation. So that's that story. And that's what really inspired me to become an educator. And then, now own my own business as a nurse career coach. But, that experience in the emergency department, I really treasure starting there as a new nurse because I learned so much.
Mm.
Uh, I was very adaptable, obviously resilient, communication skills. You really had to have really good communication skills and really work well as a team. Obviously, it's like life or death, but I loved it. It was, connecting with a lot of people in the community every day. I would meet so many people. One of my favorite places to work was in the triage because, I met so many people and it really forced me to have really good time management and prioritization and really make people feel at ease during really vulnerable or
Yes.
scary times. And I think I took all those skills that I've learned as an emergency nurse over the 13 years that I've done that because I left Canada after 5 years and then I pursued travel nursing in New York City. So I've worked in some of the biggest, level one trauma centers in Canada and the United States. So it really helped me not only become a better nurse, but also a better person in my own professional life where I use these skills and transfer them to, different areas in my life and in my business as well.
Definitely. That's amazing from watching a show to look at where you are now in your career helping others.
Yes, yes, yes. And it was funny because when I worked in Detroit, Michigan, at that same facility, I worked with some of those physicians who were on the show, and they were amazing. I learned so much in that emergency department. So I was very grateful and thankful that I didn't listen to that negativity and that I was very driven and persistent to follow that dream of mine.
Definitely. And your career is an inspiring blend of clinical nursing, mentorship, and entrepreneurial ventures. Can you share a pivotal moment that led you to become a nurse coach and advocate for financial empowerment in nursing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, naturally, when I was a nurse, I always precepted, took on nursing students. I always fell into a natural educator
Mm,
slash coach. I loved, really taking on those new nurses and inspiring and teaching them all that I knew because sometimes I think new nurses, it's tough for them as they're transitioning out of nursing school into nursing practice. So to find people that are really enthusiastic about teaching them, I think really impacts them. Because for me, I had a really good preceptor when I was in the emergency department, and that really set the foundation for my career. So that's what I wanted to give back to these students and to these new nurses, to make sure that they were like not seen as a burden, but
Yes.
to really support them and make sure that they're successful. Because statistics show that 1 in 5 nurses will actually quit nursing in their first 2 years
Oh, wow.
because of unsupportive environments, toxic leadership, a plethora of things. But that's why it's so important to have really good mentors and really good educators. And that's kind of what my commitment is also as a nurse career coach, helping these nurses
Mm.
um, realize that they don't have to start in med surge, or they could start wherever they want. Even if they don't want to work in the traditional setting of acute care in a hospital, they can work in the community. There's so many places they could work for the government and health policy. They could work on a cruise ship if they want. Like, there are over 100 roles that nurses can play. I mean, that they can actually do. And I think society and the media needs to realize how vast the roles are of nurses. And it's not just the traditional, like what we see, just a nurse in the in the hospital, excuse me. So really, the other aspect of this is I really want nurses to also thrive in the sense of like also supporting their families, like asking
Yes.
for money, negotiating their salary, because a lot of new nurses don't realize, like I didn't know that I could negotiate my salary early on, but you can, depending if you're in a unionized environment, sometimes it's a little difficult, you can't, but you can still negotiate other terms of your employment and your compensation package to maybe work less days or something like that. Um, and then also inspiring other nurses who are interested in potentially starting a side business as a consultant or a career coach like myself or a tutor. They need to realize that they can also generate their own income if they start their own business or a side hustle,
Mm.
or even if they want to write a book, or if they have an invention. We need innovation in healthcare, and that's something else that I'm really passionate about for nurses.
That's amazing. That's really amazing to hear, like how you help other people to empower them. Like you say, like if they leave within the first 2 years, we can't have that. We need nurses, we need healthcare people.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what will we do?
Right. And then the other aspect to that is, if there's any, obviously, nurses who are listening, um, I know every industry and I know globally there's a lot of issues in healthcare and in nursing, related to staffing and things like that. It's not perfect. We need to fix a lot of things, but this is why we need to paint the picture and educate the public that nursing is a great profession with a lot of options, so that we could attract more people in nursing, right? Because we need to eliminate this negative uh, image of nursing and really highlight all the positives in our profession so we
Yes,
can get more people to come into it. Because you're right, we need people to to work at the bedside as well as beyond the bedside.
definitely. And one of your focus areas being in boosting confidence in nurses. Why do you think confidence is such a crucial factor for success in nursing, and how do you help nurses build it?
Ooh, this is a good one. Yeah. So, in nursing school, and this happened to me myself as well in nursing school. Nursing school can be very rigorous, and this is kind of globally. It's not an easy profession to get into because you're literally dealing with people's lives,
Mm.
right? So it's a lot of pressure that gets put on nurses to make sure that we're performing safely, we're delivering care, we're advocating for patients, and we constantly need to be up to date with our skills and our education and kind of know what's going on. So it could be very overwhelming, the education part. And then in nursing school, I feel that nursing school needs they need to stay away from the fear type based type of learning, and it needs to be creating more psychological safety instead of like you can't make a mistake, you can't make a mistake. Like it needs to be more like a more positive way of teaching
Yes.
and inspiring and motivating so that nurses are not afraid to ask questions, because we know when we build these healthy learning environments, nurses will be uh, feel more confident to ask questions, and they feel more supported. If it's kind of a fear-based environment, they're going to be afraid to ask questions, and they're not going to fully learn to their fullest potential. And that's why I wanted to go into education, to kind of change that narrative and make sure that not only are we teaching them practical things,
Mm.
we need to get away from, learning about history is great, but like, I don't want to hear about Florence Nightingale anymore. Like, like, let's get over that. Like, yes, you can talk about a little bit of history, but let's focus more on innovative things, practical things that are really affecting healthcare, like structural racism, how to advocate
Yes.
for patients, how to really deal with toxic leaders, and um, have people communicate and be able to, um, you know, build healthier work environments and hold each other accountable, whether it's nurse to nurse, nurse to physician, or nurse to like CEO or whatever it is. Because I feel like a lot of nurses are afraid to speak up in these
Mm.
environments because they're afraid of getting fired. And it's happened to me multiple times where I actually got let go of a couple jobs because of my advocacy and speaking up. But I feel like I will always speak up if it's the right thing to do and it's in alignment with my values, and I cannot not speak up, right?
Mm.
So this is what I want to share with nurses. If you're in an environment where you're speaking up and they let you go, then maybe you shouldn't be there in the first place, right?
Yes.
And there could be another way that you can impact healthcare. So that's kind of what I do with my podcast. I have a podcast called The Nursing Dose with Farah, where I invite different guests. We talk about different issues, such as structural racism. You
Mm.
know, in the US, like women are 3 to 4 times, non-white women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die due to pregnancy related issues. Like, let's talk about the real things and how to really take
Yes.
to change these statistics that really should not be happening, globally.
Definitely. And with all those issues in healthcare, I say the structural racism and all of that, your book, Nurses Making Money Moves, aims to empower nurses financially. What inspired you to address this specific, often overlooked aspect of nursing, and what do you hope readers take away from your book?
Yeah, so actually, I was supposed to speak at a conference in Las Vegas, a nurse entrepreneurship conference called the NNBA, National Nurses and Business Association. And I wanted to have a book there to actually sell because I knew that half of the attendees were kind of aspiring nurse entrepreneurs. So I
Mm.
decided to do an actual workbook style where they can take their idea to actually build a business plan, pick a business model, and fundamentally, like at the most basic level, just create a business structure and model where they can just register their business and actually start making money moves, and you know really highlighting that you don't have to go to school to get an MBA to start a business. You could literally start a business in the matter of like a week to, 2 weeks if you really wanted to and you're clear on your
Mm.
ideas. So the book really goes through different ideas of different businesses they could start, such as like, maybe a health coach, a career coach, a consultant, because we have a lot of knowledge, obviously, advanced degrees, um, that we could really be monetizing on our knowledge, but a lot
Yes.
of times giving it away for free. So I really want to show nurses that they can generate their own income, and they need to realize that job security these days, it's not like back in the day where some nurses would stay at jobs 20, 30 years. A lot of these companies are really not loyal. They'll get rid of you literally in a minute. So you need to be able to at least generate your own income. And we have all the skills that we need as nurses to easily transition into business because we're people, right? Business is
Yes.
all about people and like building relationships and trust, and then solving problems. That's what nurses do best. So that's why I decided to write that book, to, step by
Mm.
step take them through this blueprint so they can actually start a business.
Enjoying this episode? Ever thought of starting your own podcast? Podup.com is your go to. They've got everything you need to run a pro show, including 35 or more AI powered tools for success. Sign up today for a free starter account and get 15% off with the code HealthyTalks15. The code is HealthyTalks15. Plus, check out podallies.com for a done for you podcasting experience, complete with website, social media, and editing. Start now and let's launch your podcast together.
That's amazing. And with healthcare, there's so many issues within healthcare, but healthcare itself is such a challenging field, especially post-pandemic. What strategies do you recommend to nurses who are feeling burnt out or undervalued in the role, especially around about this time of the year where it is end of the year and it's a big push and it's the busiest time of the year?
Honestly, I'm just gonna be real and honest.
Mm,
So, like in the emergency room, I didn't even realize that I was burnt out, um, until I was exhibiting like some serious burnout symptoms, like cynicism and, you know, uh, even physical symptoms of
yes.
burnout where it can actually impact your health. So my biggest thing would be to really reflect and reassess, is this particular job or organization, is it really something temporary where you need to take a long vacation and then maybe come back and reassess if that's where you really want to be, or do you really need a change and, change a different unit, or go somewhere else entirely for your own mental health and physical health, because it can take anywhere from 3 to 6 months to actually find a new job. So I would say leave, take a break, take vacation
Yes.
or take time off, reflect, or literally just leave the job. Like, basically, if you have the funds financially to leave and to find another job, and if you have a couple months to look, then I would say leave, because no job is worth your mental health and your physical health. Or
Definitely.
if you have some time to spare, maybe drop down to part-time or per diem until you find something different. And then you might want to work with somebody like me who's a nurse career coach, or if you don't, get some mentorship, get somebody who can mentor you, because you might feel a little bit overwhelmed and not
Yes.
know what the next step is. But honestly, the biggest thing I would say is, find out what type of lifestyle you want to live first, and then that'll shape your career. A lot of people do it the opposite. Like if you have kids and you don't want to work weekends and you don't want to work night shift, then you probably need to find something more like an outpatient setting or
Mm.
something like that, where you have more flexibility. So look at the type of lifestyle that you want to live and then pick a career that fits.
Yeah, that's not even just for nurses, that's for any field, for anyone.
Yes,
Lifestyle
yes.
first, then pick your career based on that.
Yes, yes. And there's a lot of like remote nursing, you know, telehealth, if there's nurse practitioners out there, or, even emergency nurses, you could do things like telephone triage, or there's a lot of different, you could work for pharmaceutical companies at home, because a lot of nurses now are looking for more remote positions, because of their children or whatever the case is. So, just keep looking, to make sure that you find something that fits your needs.
Definitely, that's absolutely correct. And you've obviously worked with nurses across the globe. What differences and commonalities do you see in the challenges and opportunities nurses face internationally?
So, you know, I've worked with mostly nurses in the US. in Canada, and I've had a couple nurses from like the UK and some other places kind of reach out, but the majority is US and Canada. And I've worked both in the US and Canada, so I can speak more to that. Um, what I think is nurses are really back to that confidence and that self esteem.
Mm.
I don't think nurses realize how much value and impact they have, and they underestimate what they can do. So we're a female dominated profession, even though there's more males coming in. Sometimes we won't apply to certain higher level jobs if we don't fit all the qualifications, but you don't necessarily have to click every qualification to apply for the job. So nurses need to shift their mindset to say, hey, yes, I can go into leadership. Yes, I can go into these educator positions. I can ask for more money. Nurses need to be more bold and more action kind of focused. Like, um, and build more confidence.
Mm.
Like I would say that's the biggest thing. And you don't even have to stay in your location. As you mentioned, you know, when I was in Canada, I actually thought about going to Australia to work there. And you need to kind of look at your immigration laws and like wherever you are, you're listening and see perhaps you can work in a different country. But, I would say be careful of which agencies you connect with, and I'm not an expert in this, but just pick the right agencies that can facilitate, because there's a lot of agencies out there that are taking advantage of nurses and taking their money and not doing the right things. So you don't want to put yourself in a position where it's not safe, or you're not
Mm.
getting paid, or you don't have benefits. So find out from other nurses who have done it successfully, and talk to them. But don't just limit yourself to one location. You can
Yes.
move to a different province in Canada, you can move to a different state or a different country, like depending, what your qualifications and like I moved from Canada to the US with a trade NAFTA visa. And then later got married and stuff and became an American. So I have dual citizenship, but explore those things. Yeah.
Definitely. And you're also very active on social media, sharing your knowledge, connecting with nurses, people like me who works in healthcare. How do you
Mhm.
leverage these platforms to inspire and educate the nursing community?
Yeah, so I was not always this active on social media, particularly LinkedIn. Um, when I first got my LinkedIn account, I don't even know how long ago it was, but I never really used it. I went on like sporadically to kind of look at jobs, and then I would log off. I never really understood the power of building a personal brand, the power of networking both online and going to in-person networking events. I was very focused on the work when I first started
Yes.
as a new nurse. I didn't have a lot of mentors. It was just like work, 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 get the next degree, get the next certification. And I think that's what probably I didn't accelerate in my career growth as fast as I could have, because I didn't network and I didn't understand how to build my personal brand. Because a lot of nurses don't realize that they are a brand. Like whether
Yes.
you realize it or not, you are a brand. You don't necessarily have to be in business or be a big company like Nike to have a brand. Um, a personal brand is truly, people knowing you, knowing what you do, and they have clarity about what you do. Like for me, I'm a nurse career coach. I'm a nurse. I help mostly new nurses. I value like empowerment, diversity in nursing. Like I have my traits, I have my values, and I have my purpose. So you need to kind of make that clear to people so that they can decide, yes, I want to kind of rock with you or not. Or like, I don't want to be associated with you. And not everyone's going to like you, but
Yes.
being on social media, you have to be confident in yourself, and not care what people think, because you'll never put yourself out there. So for me, I didn't even have a profile photo when I first started on LinkedIn. And then later I slowly started building it, started taking some photos, like professional photos. I invested in myself that
Yes.
way. I invested in business coaches. I'm working with a marketing coach right now. So, nurses need to understand, like, yeah, you could put a lot of money and get a particular certification, or, spend almost $100,000 on a degree. But look at other opportunities to invest in yourself. Like something as simple as spending 400 or $500 on a photographer can really, go a long way. Or, spending 400 bucks to go to a conference, you might meet one person that might change your whole career or
Mm.
your whole life. So look at it beyond, I'm just spending this money and I don't know if it's worth it, because making these connections can be really, really be powerful. And me just being on this podcast, and I really appreciate the opportunity, you know, not only am I serving my own fulfillment and my impact about educating nurses globally on like how to navigate in nursing and healthcare, but I'm also being visible on here where, like, maybe I can meet someone who's my next mentor or
Yes.
my next client, right? So like being visible on social media has truly changed my business and also my professional career. So I really uh, implore nurses particularly to be on LinkedIn, because there are so many decision makers out there on LinkedIn. So, simply just sharing your knowledge, writing articles, um, being connected with other professional organizations, being on podcasts, and simply posting like weekly will boost your career or your business.
Definitely. And it is something I have noticed. Not a lot of nurses are on LinkedIn. And I'm like, but why not? This is where you connect with other people, like-minded people. So
Yeah,
I'm 100% agree with you that nurses, anyone in healthcare should be on LinkedIn, and it's about your brands and putting
yeah.
yourself out there.
Thank you. Yes.
And for my last question with you today, Dr. Farah, I want to know what's next for you in your mission to elevate the nursing profession. Are there any upcoming projects or initiatives you've excited to share with our listeners?
Yes, I'm actually extremely excited because I'm actually working with a particular university now. I can't really name it because we're just finalizing the contract now, but I will be collaborating with this university. It's a US based university, and I'm going to be creating a nurse entrepreneurship course that's going to be a 10-week program, and it's going to be housed within this university that they can actually take as a course, and I'll be teaching it. And it will be based off my book, Nurses Making Money Moves,
Yay!
Nurses Guide to Starting a Business. And really, it's this course is built by me, who's a nurse, for nurses to start a business. Because yes, they can go to like, Harvard or whatever, any business course and take a generic business course, but this is really going to be from a perspective of a nurse to a nurse, really showing them the basics of business and that how they can really take their idea
Yes.
to launch the business. So I'm excited about this. The plan is to launch 4 times a year, and it's only going to be limited to a couple seats. So definitely, if you're interested, you could always reach out to see, how you can get into this course. But that's one big thing I'm excited about. And then I'll be doing more speaking engagements next year on personal branding, nurses starting businesses, and also connecting with more universities to do more workforce development for their senior students, and looking for more speaking engagements. So that's kind of what I'm excited about for 2025.
That's
Yes.
amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I would also be excited to teach a class and do more speaking. That's really amazing. That's very big news. That's not just something small.
Yeah, because honestly, you know, uh, and then for future, I'm just manifesting it. I would really want it to become almost like an elective choice
Mm,
in most nursing curriculums, to say, hey, there's this nursing entrepreneurship program, I could potentially take it as elective, and it being the norm, like being normal. Because even in my doctoral program, it was in organizational leadership. We touched upon, economics, this, and the other, but not truly anything with how to build a business, how to start your own business. And there's a lot of like nurse practitioners out there that want to start their own practice, or even they're doing medical spas, and they have no clue because nursing school does not teach them anything about starting a business. So, really, my end goal is to have it part of every nursing curriculum, at least as an elective for nurses, even at the BSN, like bachelor's level, to say, hey, I want to take this nurse entrepreneurship course, just to have it available. Because I didn't have
Definitely.
that, when I went to nursing school.
Definitely. And like you say, like they can take a general course, but it's not specific to healthcare. And you being a nurse and having all this knowledge and experience, I would think it'd be a lot better to learn from someone who was in the same seat that you would like to strive to be in, and not just like something general.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then, this is something that I've been thinking about over the years. I spent almost 3.5 years now, learning about business, marketing, sales. I'm still learning because there's always things to learn. But honestly, even just LinkedIn has been one of the biggest sources of income for me, because that's where I get the majority of my clients from, just creating organic social media content.
Mm,
So, you know, even if you're not a nurse that wants to get into business, like, creating content can really lead you to a lot of different opportunities, because it
yes.
just increases that your visibility, your thought leadership, and you're seen as an expert in your field. And I was actually awarded too from LinkedIn. I know they're not doing this anymore, but the top voice badge for nursing as well, and also for public speaking, which I'm pretty proud of, because it takes hours to create content,
Yes.
uh, and it's not easy. But yeah.
No, definitely. Well, Dr. Ferry, like I said, your advice throughout this entire chat is relative to anyone, not just to anyone in healthcare. So I really do appreciate it. And I appreciate you taking the time coming onto our podcast and sharing your knowledge, insights, and your advice. I really do appreciate it. And I hope our listeners will see the value in it as well, and to get your book, and to hopefully, when we know soon where the course is going to be held, we can go join as well.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. And really, lastly, I think for any nurse out there who's feeling, overwhelmed or lost, just take time to reflect, and just know that you can't be in a greater profession. So, like, don't quit nursing. There's something for you out there.
Mm,
And just get a mentor or get somebody to talk to, because you don't have to feel that way. And I know a lot of nurses don't feel valued. But if you don't feel valued where you are, then it's time to move on to do something else, because you are valuable. You are fabulous. You went to school. So, uh, don't let all that go to waste. And just find your niche or niche, whatever you want to
mm.
say, and just reignite that passion again in nursing, because you definitely can find it. You just need to do a little bit of soul searching, and then take care of yourself, because nurses are horrible at self-care and
Yes.
taking care of ourselves. So that's kind of my advice. Yeah, thank you.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Dr. Farah. And like I said, I'm excited to see what the future holds for you and for anyone that's under your brilliant mentorship.
Thank you so much, Julie. I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity. And everybody stay positive and stay blessed out there.
Perfect. And to all our listeners out there, remember to like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next episode of Healthy Talks.